Get the views now of Jonathan Portis, who's director of the National Institute of Economic and Social Research, and joins us. Essentially, she's saying really that there's a cosy kind of Westminster consensus about austerity that she doesn't like.
Well, I think she's right in the sense that both parties have accepted or all the main parties have accepted the need for deficit reduction. Although there is still a significant difference. Labour would cut the deficit considerably more slowly and would spend considerably more. What she's saying is that even that is not enough and that we could afford to spend even more than Labour are planning. That would mean more borrowing and a somewhat higher deficit, but it would also mean considerably less in the way to the sorts of cuts in public services that are implied by Conservative plans.
And I suppose it's interesting and it's important because there's a lot of speculation with the way the opinion polls are at the moment that conceivably the Scottish National Party could be doing some sort of coalition deal with the Labour Party after the next election.
There is quite a lot of room for manoeuvre in terms of plans to get the deficit down over the next Parliament. Even what Nicola Sturgeon is proposing, which would involve spending quite a lot more and borrowing quite a lot more than what the Conservatives are proposing, would still result in a falling deficit and falling debt over the Parliament. So it would be fiscally sustainable. So there's quite a lot of room for manoeuvre for what, if there is a coalition government of whatever sort after the election and the plans go into the air, as it were, there is quite a lot of room for manoeuvre. This idea that further austerity is inevitable, desirable, and necessary simply doesn't add up from an economic perspective. And in that sense, I think Nicola Sturgeon is quite right to put these issues on the agenda.
But when she says that the government's austerity economics, as she calls it, has failed, I mean, the government would say, well, no, they haven't. I mean, inflation's pretty low, unemployment's pretty low, growth is pretty high. All those key indicators are actually pretty good.
Well, no, I think that's quite wrong. She correctly pointed out that per capita GDP, that is, the amount per person that we make as a country, is actually below the level it was in 2008. That is quite unprecedented in British economic history, that 6 or 7 years now after the start of a recession, we'd be poorer than we were at the beginning. We have had reasonable growth over the last couple of years as the government has eased off on austerity, but the economic record over the Parliament of this government is pretty mediocre by any standards. And I think, we recently published an analysis by Simon Wren-Lewis of the University of Oxford, which pretty much backed up what she was saying. So I think that's a pretty respectable economic proposition that the government's policies have not been terribly successful.
All right, Jonathan Portis, good to talk to you. That's Jonathan Portis, Director of the National Institute of Economic and Social Research. Many thanks.